Okay, so would anybody like to ask a question? I encourage questions. You people who've been away for a while, otherwise we'll take a question from the list. Shall we, Mary?
Okay, this question is from Diane, who is from the Bay Area. Hi, Leonard and Mary. I'd love for Leonard to talk a bit about the thing, in quotes, that causes me the most suffering, and that I would guess is probably universal. How do we skillfully work with and be with the pain of interacting with others when the pain comes from wanting to please, wanting to be liked, and trying to avoid being abandoned by friends and family who find me to be too easily triggered or sometimes too honest about my feelings? Separate from my question, here's my confession. I've always been someone who is terrified to completely be myself and to prioritize taking care of myself because I believe no one can handle my imperfection, and I'm terrified of ending up completely alone in the world. If you decide to use my question, you're welcome to share my confession and name too, if appropriate, with gratitude and love for you guys.
Okay, it's rather a long question. The first part, if I recall correctly, is about interacting with others in a way that creates pain, that's very painful, because there are these patterns of pleasing others. That was the main gist of it. Can anyone relate to that? Does anyone in this room have that? Hands up the pleasers. Well, hands up those that didn't have your hands up. Maybe you need to do a little pleasing. It could go the other way. Okay, but the pleasers, you know that it can be painful because you keep pleasing, you're seeking acceptance at some level, approval, love, and it doesn't always work, does it? You just tend to lose yourself in the other, and the other invariably finishes up stinging you in some way. Right, folks? Now, again, these are just patterns from childhood. These are learned patterns. Either our parents modeled it for us, maybe mother modeled it for you. Mother was a pleaser. Maybe you realize that by doing the right thing, pleasing others, by being there for others, you got more acceptance, more love. And so basically it's just a pattern that develops. It's a pattern and a strategy that develops at a very early age in order to gain acceptance or avoid rejection, to gain a sense of belonging somehow. But all that happens in the process is you lose yourself, and that's where the pain comes in. Because quite literally you're energetically moving away from yourself as you're trying to please another. I mean, you can feel it energetically. What do you want? How shall I please you? Please don't judge me. Won't you accept me? Literally, energetically, it's a movement away from myself to you. I'm giving you the power. And the only way to really overcome these tendencies, these patterns, these deeply ingrained strategies, is to own, acknowledge, and confess it whenever it arises. You have to catch yourself. You have to confess it and say, I just noticed I'm trying to please you. And then you disengage from it. Or maybe you say, if I'm going to please you, you better damn well appreciate it. You better respond appropriately. You better love me, accept me, approve of me, and give me exactly what I want, or I'll stop pleasing you. But technically, it's better really to not lose yourself. Now, the problem is there's a very fine line between being loving and caring and considerate and losing yourself in pleasing others. It's a fine line. You don't want to give up being loving and caring and sensitive to the needs of others. But most of us inherently know when we cross that line. We know the difference. Hands up again, the people pleasers. Right. You'd probably be our champion, wouldn't you, Gigi, at great harm to yourself, I believe. When are you going to give it up? The second part of the question or the confession is about judging herself. And that also is very, very painful. The only way you can overcome judging yourself is the same as what I suggested earlier. You own, acknowledge, confess, identify the energy of judgment as it arises. Own it, the energy of trying to fix yourself, thinking you're not good enough. You can't escape from these things. You can't step aside from them. You have to literally step right into it, embrace it, be it, feel what it feels like, feel the pain, own it, acknowledge it, confess it, then step out of it. And if you're really addicted to people pleasing, as several people in this room are, then go up to the people you're pleasing. Go up and go down on your knees before them and please accept me. I'll do anything to have you accept me, please. How shall I please you? What do you want from me? I'll do anything to gain your acceptance, your approval, your love. I'll do anything. I'm a beggar. Because that's really what's underneath it. I don't want to be alone. That's underneath it. I'll take care of you because deep down I really want you to take care of me. Can any of our pleasers relate to that? Deep down I want you to take care of me. It really starts in childhood. If you trace it all the way back, it probably goes back to your mother or father, but mostly mother, who was helpless, was really a little girl in an adult body, and you tried to take care of her because you wanted her to be a true mother so she'd take care of you. Then you get caught in that loop. The problem is your mother never really grew out of being a little girl. She never really responded the way you wanted, and no one ever will. They're not supposed to. They're here to wake you up out of that pattern, out of that strategy. I hope you're not listening to any of this, Mary.